Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fortified Life podcast, where we are passionate about developing a dependency on Jesus in the marketplace. I'm your host, Jason Davis, aka Mr. Fortify. Every week, we have the opportunity to bring on authors, speakers, coaches, CEOs, leaders of nonprofits, hint, hint, who are also passionate about putting God back in business. And it is no different this week. Now, folks, I always love it because we have so many different types of business owners, entrepreneurs, but I especially love when we get to feature nonprofits here on the Fortified Life podcast. But before we get into it, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Now, I've got to tell you, folks, the conversations that we've had offline, I get more and more excited every time I talk to her. But our guest today is Kenita Smith. She's a visionary nonprofit leader and the founder of Hope Inc., a Georgia based organization. Inspired by her own journey as a single mom in college, Kenita launched Hope to fill the gap for families balancing education, parenting, and poverty. Since its founding, Hope has helped nearly 100 single parents graduate from college, many of whom were the first in their families to do so. The program maintains an 83% graduation rate, with participants averaging a 3.31 GPA. Graduates have increased their annual income by more than $35,000, improved their credit score, and established meaningful savings, milestones that build long term stability. There's a whole lot more we're going to dig into, folks, but please welcome to the Fortified Life podcast, Kenita Smith. Kenita, what's going on?
Hey everyone, thank you, Jason, for having me. I am so excited to be here and to talk about all things God related and what He's doing in our lives through this nonprofit, but also just excited to be here. You have been such an encouragement to me through your book. I'm so excited to read Fortify and just find out more things that I can do to have God in my workplace and all the things that we're doing. But I'm just excited to be here and talk to all of the listeners about what we do and just nonprofits in general and inspire them to go forward with their desires in the nonprofit world if they have one, or just inspire them about what we're doing or just in general things they want to do.
Absolutely. Well, Kanita, I think the elephant in the room for anybody's story, uh, whether it's education, business, nonprofit, is what's the origin story? We know that you just didn't wake up in 2026 and boom, here it is. So
Right,
take us on
right.
the journey to how you got here and ultimately what had you result in the founding of Hope Inc.
Yeah, so the origin story is quite amusing. So I since I was 6 years old, I have always wanted to be a doctor, a pediatrician. And so I went to college with that in mind. I moved from Illinois down to Atlanta, and I was had the mindset to go to Spelman, but I ended up at Clark Atlanta. And while I was a sophomore in college, I found out that I was pregnant with my first son. I was 21
Mm.
years old when I had him. And I went to school all through my pregnancy. I did not allow it to become a crutch or disable me in any way. But I learned that, you know what, maybe being a pediatrician with a son may not be the best thing because I wanted to raise my son. So I thought
Mhm.
the next best position or occupation or career would be nurse practitioner.
Mm.
So I went into nursing school at Georgia State, and I made it up to my junior year, and I was trying to find childcare. Now, any one of you that have been in nursing school and the criteria is quite difficult. They don't care if you have childcare. They don't care if you have to work. You have clinicals and you have classes, and you can only fail two tests. You can only miss one clinical before you're removed from the program completely. So it's fairly stressful. And I was trying to get childcare through the government assistance program CAPS, and I was denied. I was told that had I been receiving a certificate or a diploma, they would help me. But because I was
Mm,
attending a 4-year college to obtain a 4-year degree, I was not eligible. And I
mm,
just remember thinking that was completely backwards. So I struggled to provide on 20 hours part-time trying to go to nursing school and complete my degree. I lived in based on income housing in downtown Atlanta off of North Avenue because that's all I could afford. And I struggled the whole time. And at this time, I realized that I was expecting my middle son at that time, and I had 1 year left of nursing school. And I told the teachers, and they were asking me they were asking me to just sit out for 1 year. And I refused because it was such an unsafe environment I was in. I wanted to get done with school because I knew that that was going to be what helped me have the income and the lifestyle that I wanted. So I went to classes throughout. I went to clinicals throughout and had my son and went to my clinical shortly after, but I didn't take enough time to heal. So I ended
mm,
up getting sick and having restrictions. And if you're in the nursing program, you cannot have restrictions. So I ended up having to sit out anyway. And I said, well, you know what? I'll just change my major to business administration, concentrating in healthcare, and I'll go back and get my nursing degree because your classes are good for 5 years. Well, in that time, I ended up graduating with my bachelor's in business, and I ended up getting a job in hospice of all places, which is not, so if you knew me, that would not be where you think you would find me.
mhm,
However, I ended up really liking corporate America, and I had an administrator that saw my skill set, and I moved up fairly quickly. I started as a coordinator, then I moved up to office manager, and I ended up getting into the assistant executive training program. And while I'm there, my relationship with God had also developed. I started to have
mm,
one. I was close with him. I was in communication with God. I was praying often, and he was at the center of my life at this point of my life. And I was in my office one day and I said, God, what is my passion? What is it that I can do every day and not have to get paid for it? Because I was fairly good at what I did. I was now over 3 satellite offices and I was good at it, but I felt like that wasn't my call, right?
mm,
And the Lord dropped this program in my spirit. And I was like, I know nothing about nonprofits, not one cent about it. I have no donors, I have no experience, I have no history, no grants. But I wrote up this program and I talked with my dad about it. And I said, Dad, I want to do this program. And we came up with the mission and vision and we just thought it through and I wrote it up and I gave it to a doctor friend of mine. And I said, what do you think about this? And he said, you have to start it and I'll give you the seed money for your 501(c)(3) application.
mm.
And I completed my application and that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
And here we are. So I knew I wanted to help single parents that were like me, that were enrolled in a 2 or 4 year college, that were working, and they just needed a little bit of help. And there weren't programs like that. There are a lot of programs that help single parents that are homeless, or you need emergency assistance with a one-time gift, or maybe with counseling, or parenting courses, or budget coaching, but nothing that had a holistic approach. So what I wanted
Mm,
to offer was there was no blueprint for it. So it's not like I can emulate what was out there and add some things to it to make it better. This was completely new. And on top of that, I was wanting to give financial assistance to single parents every month in the form of $400 towards rent and $400 towards childcare. No one was doing that. No one was doing that. So where was the money coming from? And then where is this program model coming from? Who's going to help you do it? So that's how it got started. That's how it got started.
mm. Wow. So much there.
Yeah.
When you mentioned no one did, so what was that process like? Because you, like you said, if you're homeless, if you're this, if you're that, that does seem backwards that, well,
Yes.
the people, students getting a 4-year degree, they don't deserve to have help. And obviously, if you are a person that needs housing. That's clearly, I mean, that's like
Right.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what was that once you started to dig in and see the need? When you started to talk to people, was it kind of like a, yeah, Kenita, we do need to do this, or were you met with resistance? What was that process like?
Actually, I tell people all the time that hope sells itself.
Mm,
As soon as I laid out the program and the criteria, because I was not just helping just single parents in general. I was helping single parents that went to a 2 or 4 year school,
hmm
that had a job at least 6 months, that had their dependent living with them, that had a 2.7 or higher GPA. So there was a
mm.
criteria that single parents had to meet. And that
Mm,
intrigued people because they felt like those individuals were helping themselves, but
gotcha.
also they were just really taken aback by the program in general. How did you think of this? What made you think of this? And I literally just took myself and what I felt the need was, and I made a carbon copy of what I was doing. I was working, I had a high GPA, I was driven. I just did not make enough to cover these basic needs for these programs that I was attending. And
Mm,
so I just thought of myself and brought that into the program model. So a lot of people were just wondering, the only question they had was, how are you going to fund it? It
mm.
wasn't the
Yeah,
mission or the vision, it was, how are you going to fund it?
got it. Oof. Yeah, and that that's often the question
That's
for
the question.
everybody. How does the money come? So Kanita, you mentioned holistic.
Mhm,
So we have the financial need,
mhm.
um, childcare, housing, like you said. But when you say holistic, that means different things to different people.
Right.
But how did you and your team define holistic of like, you know what, we could help here. And there are some other organizations that are really good in a single track. But in thinking holistically, uh, what was the thought process around let's do something holistic and here's the categories of how we can support these people in need?
Well, when I say holistic, I look at the individual and what
Hmm.
all of the needs may have been. So, as a
Gotcha.
single parent at that time, myself, or when I thought, in my experience, I should say, I knew that the financial assistance ongoing was important because
Hmm.
of the gap in how much they were able to make annually. But I also knew that there needed to be a financial training component because many of us
Mm.
did not have the training or know how to properly budget or how to save or what to do with a limited income. So I felt it was necessary to have that as a requirement of our program where they have monthly budget coaching, and also without us being a faith-based organization, it's still really a faith-based coaching because a lot of our coaches are faith-based.
Gotcha.
And the principal is faith-based. So I thought that that was important. I also felt like mental health was key in the success, the academic success of these single parents, as well as in their personal life. So I wanted to add a mental health component where we offered free counseling to them and their children. Because a lot of times these single parents are not just the 20 and 21-year-old young mothers or fathers, they are also those who may have been married early, divorced early, and now they're having to figure out how to provide for their family on one income. So there are
Mm,
a plethora of different examples of why they may be a single parent. Some may be widows or widowers. So I
mm,
wanted to offer that mental health component to help them with any stressors or any trauma that could be a hindrance for their success academically. And then I wanted to offer what I like to call a social service component, where if there's
mm,
a need outside of what we offer in our basic core, we can connect them to the resources to be able to help them so that they don't have to drop out of college. Because many times single parents will enroll into college, but have to drop out for many different reasons, most of it financial and childcare. But if they can't have transportation, if they have those kinds of issues, that will also impact and affect their ability to complete their degree. So we have partnerships that will help us repair cars, or and some have even donated vehicles to our participants. We have those who have furniture that they will gift our participants or give for a discounted amount. We also have those that will give Christmas wish list gifts and food
Mm,
supplies. We partner with farmers to provide fresh produce. So when I say holistic, I am saying that we're coming alongside this single parent and we're a village around them, meeting
mm.
every facet of need they may have in one place. And I think that's what made it such a great program.
Wow. So impactful. And
Thank
I
you.
like what you said too, Kenita, that you have the core of what
Mhm.
you all do, and then you partner with other folks because, listen, if somebody's already great at doing it, don't
Right.
reinvent the wheel. So I love you saying that. Like, hey, even if we can't do something, we know somebody who can. And I feel like that's just such a not just in the nonprofit space, but even in the business space, it's like, hey, we are really good at this, and we partner with so and so to do that. That's just true collaboration in business and in ministry. So I appreciate you. I didn't want the listeners to miss that nugget.
Yeah. Oh, it's key. And
Yeah.
that's one of the first things I did when I looked and researched about what was out there for single parents, because my goal was not to recreate something that was already out there. And I tell
Hmm.
people, because I also consult people on how to start their own nonprofits, I tell them, look and see what's out there already. And if there is
Mm,
something that differentiates you and what you would like to do, your mission, your purpose, then go for it. But if there's something out there that is doing exactly what you already want to do, then possibly it's not about you recreating the wheel, but joining that mission or joining that purpose and taking it to the next level.
mm, that's good right there. Kanita, when it's funny, I look at a name with a name like Hope. And
Mm,
like you said, as people find out it basically sells itself or it inspires people. What where did you come up with the name? And I can already tell just by our offline conversations. I know there was a roadmap to what hope entails, but when you had the what that God gave you, when did the name come, though?
Now, this is the most uneventful part of the story. So many people think it has such a great story. It doesn't. Um, my husband at the time, I have my late husband, we were traveling. He was taking me to work, and I was
Mm,
in the car on the highway, and I was thinking about the name. I was like, what am I going to name it? And it just came to me. I was just like, Hope, helping other people be empowered. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, that's
mm.
it. That's it. There's no rhyme, no reason. I'm just thinking the Holy Spirit just put it there. It was nothing to it. It just came to me and I went with it.
Wow, my goodness. Even I know you said it wasn't like super eventful, but I just feel like God just drops things on people to where
Yeah.
it's just boom, that's the name, and here we go.
Yeah.
Is there and you don't have to use names, obviously.
Mhm.
Kanita, is there like one or two testimonies of like a cool story from one of the single parent
Mhm.
mothers that like is top of mind? Like, man, I remember when she did da 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 da. Is there one or two of those that you're just really proud of?
Yes, yes. There are several. But the one that comes to mind, there's a couple that I would love to share. There's one young lady when I first started Hope. So this was like back in 2011, 2012.
Mm,
And she was one of my youngest participants. She had one son. And she would just seem kind of down when we would do our peer mentor calls just to encourage one another. And one day she told me, she said, I just want to be a success story for you. I don't know that I'm going
Mm,
to be a success story for you. Things are so hard. And I just looked at her, and we weren't doing things virtually then, so we were meeting face to face. And I just looked at her and I told her, I said, you are going to be my success story. You just wait and see.
wow.
Fast forward to Hope growing 3 or 4 years later. She had then graduated, she got her master's, and she came and spoke at our very first dinner and talked about all of the great and wonderful things that she was doing. She got married, she owned her own house, her son was doing great, her income just doubled as soon as she graduated. And she remembered that conversation and she talked about it. And I just feel like that is really what hope is about, because
Mhm.
when you can get in front of someone and show them something about themselves that they can't see,
Mm,
that's exactly what God does with us. He
mm,
shows us things that we can't see, that He knows what He placed in us. And He sends people to encourage us and water and grow the seeds that He plants. And so to see her now is just remarkable to me. And then there was another young lady that we helped, well, I would say not so young, but middle aged. And so she had a dream of becoming a nurse.
mhm.
She's of African descent. She moved here with a dream to become a nurse, but she was never able to become a nurse all the 3 or 4 times she tried because of financial hardships. And she found out about our program through her school. We partner with Chamberlain. And so
Mm.
she found out about our program. And right at the very end, she had gotten to the very last semester, and she realized that she had a massive tuition balance, like over $10,000. And
Oh,
she would
wow.
not be able to graduate if she did not make this payment. And so she was just in tears. And she said,
Mm,
Kenita, I'm so sorry because I feel like I've let you down. And I said, oh no, we're going to raise the money. Now, mind you, we don't offer tuition assistance. And we do have a partner
mm.
that offers tuition assistance, but they only offer 200, no, $2,500.
Gotcha.
So it was coming upon Giving Tuesday and a giving day. And I said, you know what? This is going to be our campaign. We're going to raise
Mm.
the $10,000 for you. We raised it in 48 hours, $10,000. And she was able to graduate. And she is a great nurse today. She gives back to the program, and she can't talk about it without crying. But there are
Wow.
more stories like that. She's the first in her family to ever graduate from college. And so it just changed the trajectory of her entire family. And then I know you asked for two, but I just wanted to share this one last one that's very quick. There is one young lady that she also heard about our program through school, and she was down to her last semester. Both of her parents died within 6 months of each other,
Oh,
one
wow.
through cancer, one unexpectedly. And she inherited her younger siblings, and she had an eviction notice on the door. She did not have
Mm.
any family. She did not know where to go. She suffered massive depression from this, but she reached out to us. We not only took care of her past due rent, but we took care of her siblings and her children for school supplies, for clothes, for Christmas, and we helped her graduate, and we got her the mental health counseling and the grief counseling she needed to come out of depression. She's thriving
Wow.
today. So it's just not about rent 400, childcare 400. It's a holistic approach. And so that's really what
Mm.
I want to tell the readers, is that you have to invest in the individual case
It's
by
good.
case. And that's exactly what Hope does.
My goodness, you got me fired up like I want to play a football game. Kenita, I'm ready to run out the tunnel and just be a dealer of hope. So, Kenita, you mentioned, like you said, case by case, but you have childcare, rent assistance, social services, budget, coaching, life skill training, emotional support, and mentoring.
Mhm.
Because you take that lens of looking at people, is there kind of like a recurring thing that comes up where I'm going is
Mhm.
partnerships? Is there something that you know that comes up like 80/20 rule, 80% of the time, and there's just an awesome partner that you all have that's kind of outside of that core? So is there one of those that comes up and you're like, you know what? We have something for that. And here's who you can go to, and we'll be alongside you every step of the way.
Yeah, so Airburn Services used to have a Lyft ride program. They know they
Mm,
don't have it any longer, but every time there was a transportation issue or there was a
got it.
car that was needed, we would be able to go to them. They gifted 7 cars to our participants. So that was
Wow.
amazing. And then Helping Mamas is one that a fresh and new partner that we have had over the last year, and they provide, food and sanitary napkins and things like that for the parents. And that has been a great help. And we're always able to refer to them and vice versa. And they've been a great partner as well. So there are quite a few. We've partnered with Rainbow Village
Hmm.
early on. It's for single parents that are transitioning out of homelessness. And we thought, how about offering the Hope program, our program, to the graduates of that program? Because once they come out of homelessness and they come out of the transitional housing, if they don't have a college education, possibly if they're interested in having one, we could help bridge that transition so that they don't
Mm,
return back to homelessness 5 years later. And for me, that was a partnership that was very near and dear to my heart because
yeah.
the CEO, Nancy Yancey at the time, she was my first mentor. And
Mm,
I remember I told you I did not have a blueprint, right? I had no
hmm.
experience. And so at about 3 years old, when Hope was 3 years old, I looked for a mentor and I reached out to her. And I think they were like over 20 years old at that time. And she met with me and I told her my story and I said, am I doing this right? And
Mm,
she looked at me and she was so serious and it blessed me. She said, Kenita, Hope is further along at 3 years old than we were at 3 years old. There is no doubt
wow.
in my mind that this is not going to be successful. You have everything you need and everything it takes, and I'm going to help you. And she mentored me. I met with her once a year. She would write letters of support so that I could get grants when we were looking for grants. And she helped position me out in the community. And she's retired now, and the new CEO is the wife of the youth pastor I had when I first moved here. So
Oh my God.
God is in the whole thing. And she does the same. She continues to talk with me and we partner together and we look out for each other. So these are partnerships and collaborations that are just just meaningful but
Mm,
necessary for the work.
mm, wow. Talk about full circle, Kenita.
Hmm.
My goodness.
Hmm.
Now, Kenita, I know I want the people to know because if they can't tell by now, you're a superwoman. So we've got God has his hand on the org. He's also graced you to do many things, and I didn't want the listeners to miss the consulting for
Yes.
nonprofits that you do as well. To tell us a little bit more about that and how you, just as your mentors have done for you, how do you support people if they feel called to start a nonprofit?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. So I started a consulting business, just a side business, starting my nonprofit. I had no intention of starting this business, but when I started Hope, people found out about it. And then they would ask me to help them. And so I've been really helping people for the last 16 years as well. But as I grew, I began to consult with some of the very people that consulted me. And they asked me if
Mm,
I would consult some of the clients that they had that were new. And I did. And so they got such great feedback from it. I said, well, you know what? If I'm doing it for other people, maybe I can just do it for myself. And I started to put information about starting my nonprofit. And I talked about my experience, what I
mm,
learned, best practices, what worked and what didn't work for me. And new founders resonated with that. So now I offer 501(c)(3) preparation services, but also one-on-one monthly coaching, and I also offer group coaching to help new nonprofit leaders fund their mission. How do they grow it? How do they grow within the first 3 years, but also how they become grant ready? Because a lot of us
Mm,
feel like just
that's
because
good.
we start a nonprofit, we can get grant funding, and that's not true. Most
Mm,
foundations will not fund you if you're under 3 years old because it is a risk. So they want to see that you're sustainable. And
hmm.
so you can't just say, oh, I would like to get a grant now that I have this nonprofit, but we have nothing to put in the proposal. We haven't done anything in the community. We haven't received one donation, but we expect to get grants. And that was just a misconception that a lot of people had. So I help them figure out, okay, this is how you start a nonprofit. And I tell them my experiences and try to keep them from some of those experiences.
You're
And
right.
then I tell them how to get grant ready. So I have ebooks and e-courses and also one-on-one services.
Love it, love it. Yeah, Kenita, I didn't want people to miss that you
I
wear two
appreciate
hats.
that.
You got the leading a nonprofit and then
Mhm.
helping, supporting, coaching, training, mentoring people as well. Well, Kenita, we're at the top end of 2026. Earbud just went. That's okay. Um, we're at the top end of 2026. What are you excited about for this year? 2025 was kind of a lot for a lot of
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Um, but God, it doesn't matter what the economy is
It doesn't.
like. It doesn't matter what's going on in society. God continues to move. So for you, what are you excited about?
I'm very excited about this year because we started in 2025 an accelerated growth program. Now, mind you, we know what was going on in 2025, but the Lord had given me a growth program and a growth strategy to take our organization and streamline it and double the impact within 5 years. So in
Mm,
2025, we had our very first 100th graduate. But it took us 15 years at that point to do it because we had to figure out the groundwork, get the funding, and figure out what our program really needed to look like. So now that we know, hey, we have the best practice, we know that it works, we have data to prove it, but we don't want to take another 15 years to get to our next 100 graduate. So we
mm,
came up with this accelerated growth program to get to the next 100 graduate within 5 years by 2030 and to be
wow.
helping 100 single parents at that point. So that's what I'm excited about because that's what we have rolled out and we are on track to make that happen. We met our goal in 2025. And so now we have our new goal for 2026. We have new partnerships that we want to look at. And also, people are talking about licensing our program in other cities and
Mm,
states because they don't have anything like this there. And that's always been the vision for Hope for me. I never wanted it to just be an Atlanta organization. I wanted it to be something that could be replicated in other cities that had a need for single parents in college. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what God does, how he moves, and how we impact more lives outside of Metro Atlanta.
my goodness, the vision is big.
It's big.
It's big and I love it, Kanita. This has been so awesome. We're gonna have to bring you back on the show. So when a few iterations from now, we're gonna have new updates to
Yes.
share with the listeners. So I look forward to doing that. Kanita, as we get ready to land the plane, any words of encouragement that you want to share as we get ready to close?
I just want to remind the listeners to remember how great God is.
Mm,
Because if there is anything that you are lacking, he has the ability to fill that space and provide for you. I just want you to remember in my story how I had no experience, I had no grants, I had no donors, but I have raised over $2.5 million for my organization over the years, writing my own grants. I've gone from zero donors to a database of over 1,000 donors. And we have all of this success. And it's not because of me. It's because I believe in the creator. I believe in his sovereignty. I believe in his wisdom, and I sought him for it. So I just
Mhm.
believe that if there's anything that you're hesitant about doing because you feel like you don't know enough, you don't have enough resources, and you don't know where to begin, I would just encourage you to remember how great your God is and that he can put the people in your path and give you exactly what you need. Don't let you get in the way of you going forward with what his plan is. That's what I would say. Don't get in the way. Just let God be great. Let him be God, and you will be a believer just like I am, that he can do anything. And you'll put your faith there and he'll prove it to you. He'll show you exactly what he's able to do through your obedience.
My God, that's mic drop right there. There's nothing, like they say in court, nothing further, Your Honor. Nothing. Oh man, Kenita, I've had a lot of fun, folks. We could stay on another 3 hours, but we cannot. Kenita's got to continue operating in the vision and mission that God has graced her to walk in with hope. So we're going to have to let her go. But Kanita, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the
Thank you. Thank
Fortified
you.
Life podcast. Where can listeners go to find out more about the organization, make a donation, or even volunteer?
Absolutely. Go to HOP as in Paul, B as in boy, E.org. Because remember, HOPE is an acronym, helping other people be empowered. So go to HOPBE.org and you'll find all of the information you need on how to donate, how to get involved, and read success stories and find out more about us.
Love it. And folks, we'll have all of Kanita's information in the show notes, fortifiedlifepodcast.com, Jericho Force podcast, jerichoforce.com/podcast. So don't you worry, you'll know exactly how to get hope. Well, folks, that's all we have time for here on the Fortified Life. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the show, our YouTube audience at the Fortified Life on YouTube, and then the Fortified Life on your podcast platform of choice, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we are there. Well, folks, you know how we end things. Don't compartmentalize your faith in the marketplace. And from the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. We'll see you next time on the Fortified Life podcast.